episode 96 of This and That and What the Fuck Else. And in this edition I'm going to talk about the gender issues, a little bit about Germany, some more about the global revolution, actually quite a few things about the global revolution, and then there's some light-hearted moments also. And what the fuck that's going to make you smile. You have to smile, because you can do nothing else, just smile. And I want to start this one off by apologizing for my previous Afrikaans one that was released earlier today. I listened to it again and I must admit I got a bit hot under the collar in there, and I will make sure and put in some effort to constrain myself. But the idiocy that is surrounding us is absolutely mind-blowing. And yes, guys of my generation obviously experience it different to the younger generation. But this is what it is. The world that we are living in today, in my opinion, has gone crazy. And I'm quite sure that we are going to pay heavily for it. The youngsters have a different view. To them, it's not as serious as it is to us older people, but that is how it is. I'm going to start off today with an image that can be provocative, and it can be viewed negatively, but it can also be viewed positively, but it is in line with some of the clips that I want to discuss. And if you look at this image of this girl, now if we are looking at it from a photographic point of view, this will be something that will typically compete in a category called glamour, and it might be a bit risky for some people. The reason I use this is that maybe it's time we remind these gender-confused, mentally disturbed people. This is what a woman looks like. And I had to use this image because I have got this thing that from time to time I post images like this on Twitter and I remind the mental disturbed that this is a woman. And I had someone that gave me a lot of stories about how can I be sure, and there's a lot of hormone therapy they can do and plastic surgery and fuck knows what if they transfer from male to female. But this image, there's very little room for confusion here, and that is why I used it. And apart from the fact that it is, to me, I'm a photographer. I like the image. Then we get to this. Security guard refusing to let me into the stadium for USA Wales. You have to change your shirt, it's not allowed. And look at that. But look at the deeper thing behind it. This guy is in Qatar. Qatar is a Muslim country, and they made it very clear that they will not allow certain things to happen at that World Cup that is contrary to their culture, their religion, and their beliefs. But typically Western arrogance. This guy challenges the authority. He is of the opinion that his fucking warped ideas of life can be imposed on Qatar. I am just sorry they didn't rip him and pull him into a corner and gave him a fucking good hiding, because that is what he deserves. And then listen to what this Qatari doctor says. Qatari doctor slams the West over American rainbow wearing journalist. After American reporter Grant Wall tweeted about his unnecessary ordeal, being temporarily detained for wearing a rainbow t-shirt at the World Cup stadium, a Qatari doctor fumed at the Western ignorance of the Muslim country's anti-gay laws. I don't know when will Westerners realize that their values aren't universal, tweeted Dr. Naif Nahar al-Shamari. There are other cultures with different values that should be equally respected. Let's not forget, the West is not the spokesperson for humanity. Also on Monday, football governing body FIFA banned teams from wearing One Love rainbow armbands. And that is the truth. And this is the problem that I have with the West. Just the same way that they brought democracy to Libya and in the process destroyed the country and destroyed the people. That same way, they want to come to Qatar with their warped, mentally disturbed alphabet shit and impose it on Qatar, because they have the right to transmit their shit all over the globe, because they are the only people that are entitled to an opinion. I say again, I'm sorry they did not take him out and whipped him. And then on a lighter note, here is something that you must share with your confused friends. A new drug, tricoxagen, has been developed for lesbians with depression. And that is something that should be promoted. And then we get to this shit. Look at this fucking man. He calls himself a man. I don't know what the hell he thinks he is. And he comes and he makes a stupid statement like, I'm just a straight, happily married guy who loves wearing high heels. Straight my ass. He is fucking confused, and my wife will for sure bliksem the living daylights out of me if I do this type of shit. And then we get to Germany. German protests against Ukraine policy. Hundreds of residents of the German city Leipzig held a protest against the rising cost of living and inflation, which the demonstrators linked to Berlin's policies with regard to Ukraine and Russia, the Financial Times report. Protesters were reportedly outraged by Germany's following the US lead in picking sides in the conflict. Last month, record inflation numbers which emerged amid rising energy prices and supply chain issues led some experts to declare that the German economy had entered a recession. Not only are they in a recession, the Americans are busy stealing all their industries. And the German people are protesting. Yes, that's a good thing, but will they get anywhere with it? And then we get this. I'm not going to talk a lot about it. I'm just going to show you this and you can look at it and think, the bad guys are winning. And there they are. And are they really the bad guys? And then there's this little bit of information. Top Russian court rules against YouTube and Duma case. The Supreme Court of Arbitration has ruled that YouTube must reinstate the Parliament's Duma TV channel. YouTube has also been ordered to pay Duma TV 1 billion rubles, $17 million, in compensation as part of the lawsuit. Well, at least somebody's got the guts to take them on. And then more from the Qatar thing. This is how the Japanese national team left its locker after beating Germany this morning. Look at that locker, spotless. And then you look at this. This is how Sparta Prague, one of the top Czech teams, left its locker room after losing the league match. Look at that. Look at the ceiling panels ripped out. Why? Look at that. Some people have got culture and some people not. And then listen to this little French monkey. We seek a uni-polar world. This is what the war is all about. Either a single collectively narcissistic entity with feeling of invulnerability is defining for everybody, every human being on this planet, that is acceptable and what is not, or a dialogue of ideas shaping the world. The West is obsessed with so-called diversity. I wonder how traditional values are tolerated in this diverse society. Yet it cannot accept even one deviating voice that confronts the grandiose self-concept of the West and reminds it of the existence of other views. All I'm going to say on this is it doesn't matter which way they jump and preach. The West is done. And then we get this. From our president, look at that, business tech. Try to look past load shedding, Ramaphosa asked UK investors. Is he stupid? How can you look past load shedding? You cannot, not if you're an industrial businessman. But they live in a dream world. Then from Peter Sweden. 10 rules to resist the Great Reset. Love God, marry, have many children, homeschool, own your land, use cash, no digital ID, eat meat, use fossil fuels, reject feminism. You will be free and you will be happy. And that is the truth and the reality. And then we get to Lavrov. BRICS is based on principles of equality, mutual respect and fair treatment. It encapsulates synergy of cultures and civilizations representing different regions of the planet. This international framework is an example of multilateral diplomacy that matches 21st century realities. And once again, a lot of sense, but the West don't pay attention. And then you get this disturbing little graph. Look at it. What do you want to be when you grow up? Share of children who want to take up the percentage of professions one day by country in percentage. Look at that. Look at the USA. Most of them wants to be bloggers. The same in the UK. And then you go to China. Look at that. The highest number wants to be astronauts, and then teachers, then musicians, and then professional athletes, and last, bloggers. That should tell you a lot. And then there's to the green thing. You can stop the video if you want to read that whole article. We're just going to hit you with the headlines. 1,100 eminent scientists declare there is no climate emergency. Climate policy must respect scientific and economic realities. There is no climate emergency. Therefore, there is no cause for panic and alarm. We strongly oppose the harmful and unrealistic net zero CO2 policy. And I saw another article that was quite interesting where the guy said, and there was a lot of scientists, and again there something like 80 or 100 guys that were part of that paper, and they show satellite images and all types of other evidence how the green vegetation on the planet has increased over the past 30 years. And they contributed directly to the increase in CO2 because plants love CO2. And then we have this from Hungary. Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orbán. The sanctions policy has led to skyrocketing energy prices, which means a shortfall of 10 million euros a year in the Hungarian economy. Such losses negatively affect the ability to allocate funds from the budget for social purposes, such as wage increases and tax cuts. And you can read the rest of that. It's the only voice of sanity in that EU. And then we get to Italy. Italians who refuse job offers will lose their social benefits, the country's hard-right government announced, arguing that the country's welfare system is too often abused, which is 100% correct, but take note, once again, they must say hard-right. They have to do it. They don't have any other way. They cannot be objective. She must now be branded hard-right because she's talking sense. And then you look at this, and this is in South Africa. The Zimbabwean man was found with a human head and a dick in the buckets at Tembisa. Look at those images and just think for yourself. The barbarians are in our midst. And then we get this for a smile. Europe's t-shirt of the year. Immigrants are like sperm. Millions get in, only one works. And that is the truth. Now this one you can stop and you can work through it because there's a lot of information in there, and it talks about emotional coefficient and intelligence coefficient, EQ and IQ. I found it quite interesting. And then we get this piece of information, sanity from this bishop. African educational systems have surprising outcomes. The smartest students pass with a first class and get admissions to medical and engineering schools. The second class students get MBAs and LLBs to manage the first class students. The third class students enter politics and rule both the first and second class students. The failures enter the underworld of crime and control the politicians and businesses. And best of all, those who didn't attend school become prophets and everyone will follow them. Isn't that true? And then a little bit more. Liberty is meaningless where the right to utter one's thoughts and opinions has ceased to exist. That, of all rights, is the dread of a tyrant. It is the right which they first of all strike down. Isn't that true? We see that. We saw that during the pestilence. We see it now again. This is one of those that you can stop and read the whole article if you want. Verwoord's apartheid role, and there's some interesting issues in there which showed you and clearly indicates that the apartheid thing was not from the Afrikaners, it was from the British. And then a little bit from Iran. Iran will help Russia build drones for Ukraine war. According to Western intelligence, an agreement has been signed under which Iranian specialists will create attack drones in Russia. Thanks to this, Russia will be able to dramatically increase the number of relatively inexpensive but powerful UAVs. And the West wants to put sanctions on Iran, and that crazy thing in Kiev, Zelensky, he wants the West to bomb Iran and all of that. But in the meantime, 35 or 40 countries is supporting Ukraine. Hypocrisy. And then, a little bit of a joke for you to smile about. Husband, why are the defective condoms lying on the sofa? Wife, what? Where? Wife goes to find them and comes back angrily. I will kill you if you don't stop calling our children defective condoms. And then there's another joke that you can just enjoy because it's very appropriate for South Africa. And there was a thread on Twitter where people were posting photographs of the Christmas decorations in their cities. And this guy posted this. The Christmas lights are up already in South Africa. And look at that. Amazing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 images of the Christmas lights in South Africa. And then we get to that what a fuck moment, and it's just one that you have to laugh. You have to laugh, enjoy it, and think about it. And it is about these two women. The top one was Trump's girl that always talked to the press and in the White House. And the bottom one was the one that Biden started off with. Now look at that Kylie, her blonde hair, beautiful face, and look at that sexy feet. And then you look at the Biden one and look at those feet. And I can imagine that this can be possible. And on that note, please give me a subscribe, like and a share. And thank you for your support. En vir die Afrikaanse mense, groetnis, lekker dag vir julle.